Kicking it with KeKe. Kicking it with KeKe. Kicking it with KeKe. Full of personality. Switching up the storyline on God, we making history.
Writing books, changing lives, one day at a time. Put your problems to the side. Enjoy yourself. Free your mind.
Kicking it with KeKe.
What's up, you guys, and welcome to another episode of Kicking It with KeKe, Life, Love, and all that other shit. I am your host, KeKe Chanel, award-winning author and lifestyle blogger, as well as certified life coach that specializes in mindset and personal development. I believe that when we operate as our best self, we go through life more abundantly. Today, I have a very two special guests. Like, I'm doing a 2-for-1 here, and I'm so excited. We have a team today, and y'all know how I like to do. I like to give my guests the opportunity to introduce themselves. So I'm gonna turn it over to them, and that they gonna tell y'all who they are. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for coming to Kick It with me today. Tell the people who you are.
Thank you,
Sure.
KeKe.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I am Shate Hayes. I'm a native of Houston, Texas, but my husband Scott and I reside in the Atlanta area. I am an educational producer by trade, so produce lots of content, educational content and learning experiences for adults who are navigating like career transition.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you about the Love Haze after Scott gets a chance to introduce himself.
Okay.
Yeah, so my name is Scott Hayes, half of the Love Haze podcast, but by day, I am a licensed clinical social worker. I work for the Department of Veterans Affairs. Do that, the podcast, some individual group stuff with a man-to-man group.
Oh, I love that.
And also I am a shade tree baker. So
Nice.
only when I want to bake stuff and sell it, I do it as well.
Yeah.
Very shady.
Yeah.
Shady Baker, right? I love that.
And together we make up the Love Haze. You know, it started off as a podcast only, and what we do is we host conversations to, about the unspoken hard parts of life. So really, we are trying to uncover, expose, or just speak out loud what most people experience in silence, so that people know that they aren't the only ones that have gone through it, so that they know that they're not alone, and just kind of garner some community. Anything else you'd say about it? Missing anything?
Not just that we have these hard conversations.
Yeah.
Most of the time it ends up speaking to us.
Yeah.
And something that we're going through at the moment. So I think it's just mostly about being transparent and letting folks know that they aren't alone.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I love that. And I always have to have, like to have a guest on that has that message of you are not alone. It's okay to not be okay. Give yourself some grace and keep it moving.
Right. Right.
Yes. So before we get into tonight's topic, I always like to ask the question about mindset and personal development, because those are near and dear to my heart. When you guys hear the words mindset and personal development, what does that mean for you guys?
So for me, personal development and growth is really just about who you are becoming. It is, the things that we are doing to become the best and highest versions of ourselves. And I think that our mindset really has a lot to do with that, in that I can remember who I was as a younger version of myself, just kind of living life in defense mode and kind of trying to fend off things that didn't feel comfortable to me. And I think as I began to develop and began to become the man that I am today, in this best and highest version of myself, I've learned to welcome those types of challenges, and they kind of push me more to be better, to meet challenges rather than to run from them. And previously I had just been a master of fitting into spaces, being that person who everybody liked, who everybody thought was cool to be around, would give you the shirt off my back, whatever that meant. And it just created an environment where I knew how to love everybody else really well, and I didn't even allow other people the opportunity to love me in the way that I needed to be loved, because I didn't really think that I was worthy of it. And so my entire mindset, my entire approach to the way that I viewed myself and the way that I view friendships and all relationships really had to change. And I really had to do some interpersonal work on self-worth, self-esteem, being able to walk away when things don't work for you, giving people the opportunity to show up for you and being okay if they don't, those types of things. So when I think about that, it is a certain level of emotional maturity that I had to get to in order to, you know, be at my peak personal development.
Listen, mic drop moment, like for real. Like, oh my goodness, I'm looking like I got goosies, like I have goosebumps, because you said something that hit home for me. And I needed to hear that. We didn't discuss it because you don't know. I was able to love on other people and then feel worthy of that love. That was me up until maybe 5 years ago. And then I was like, turned 40 and was like, you know what? It's time for me to love me how I love everybody else. Because we sometimes can lose ourselves when we don't have that self-love. And we allow anybody to just love on us, whether it's good or bad, because we don't know the difference.
Right.
Yeah. What about you, Shate, when it comes to mindset and personal development or personal growth?
He said a lot. I think, you know, at the baseline, it is absolutely, you know, aspiring to become the highest versions of ourselves. I would also say that it is, you know, our relationship with ourselves is the foundation of how we show up in the world. It is like, it will, how I feel about myself, if I love myself, if I've forgiven myself, if I trust myself, all of those things show up, affect how I show up at work, how I show up in my relationship with my partner, with my friends, and like everything. And that is something I actually have just learned myself in the past couple of years in therapy. And so I had no idea just the amount of self-awareness and just an approach of like learning myself and loving myself and how much it really matters. And so mindset, whatever we believe, our thoughts really do color what shows up in our lives, right? So we first have to believe it, then we speak it, and then we act upon it. And, you know, now our lives are a collection of thoughts that we've had before. And so in order to change our lives, we got to change our minds, right? And so it's, I think all of those go together. It's like how you think about yourself, right? How you think about the world around you. And it's just so important to sow into those areas, to invest in those areas, to heal in those areas so that you can have, you know, the life you truly desire.
Absolutely. And you said that's amazing, because not many people realize that they are experiencing some type of trauma. And that makes or break how you see yourself. If you can't identify it, then you can't overcome it or work through it to flow through that space, because like we said, life happens. We all go through things, and my story is not your story. I can't condemn you for your story because I don't know it. And we go through life in different ways, and you may be up here one day and I'm down here the next day. So yeah, I love talking about mindset and personal development, because you are what you think.
Yes.
You are what you think. And I tell people that all the time. You have to change your mind to change your life.
Yep.
That is a true statement.
That's real.
And I have to tell myself that, because, you know, we lost a daughter in 2020. She was 19 years old to a car accident. And I wasn't able to start my healing journey until I had to realize that I was holding other people's pain. I had to let their pain go in order for me to start that healing journey. And it was a good friend of mine. We were on Instagram Live, and she's like, you know what? I just want to tell you something, and I hope you don't get offended by it. And I was like, I'm open. I don't take offense to stuff, especially when it's said in love. She was like, God spoke to me and told me to tell you that you won't begin to heal until you let everybody else's pain go. Ooh. And I immediately started bawling, because he spoke those same words to me before she didn't know anything about it. So I know it was divine intervention. And I was feeling that. And I just needed to hear somebody say it out loud for it to register the way that I needed it to register. And I'm better, you know, every day is a struggle. But, you know, we got to get through it. The thing for me is I got out of bed today. I washed my face. I said, thank you, God, that I'm here to see another day, because I know that somebody didn't make it. So I think that, we develop ourselves and we have to be mindful and intentional every day because tomorrow isn't promised. And that's how I live my life. I stopped taking things personally. And I feel like we cannot afford to take everything personally because we don't know where people are. We don't know their situation. It has nothing to do with us most times. How do you feel about that? We have to be in a space of not taking everything personally.
I have two different perspectives on that. For me, there's a part of me that believes that everything is personal, but that I don't have to take it personally. And that can be difficult for people. So what I understand is that everybody is fighting a battle that I don't understand, but so am I. And even going back to your previous point about like holding other people's pain, especially as a social worker, I thought that there was going to be some kind of prize for like feeling for people. But what I've learned over the span of my career, this 20 years being a social worker, is that you can't work harder than anybody else will for their change, right? I don't get any prize for shouldering someone else's burden. I can help them with trying to navigate their way to their own peace, to their own healing, that type of thing. But holding that inside only damages me. And so when I take something and it becomes personal to me, it's because the relationship is personal to me. And I want to do what I need to do to navigate that relationship if I want to stay in it. So that part is okay for it to be personal to me. I don't take it personally, though, when a person missteps in my life. It is not that I feel like maybe they did it out of malice. I get to meet them with boundaries, and then they get to decide if they want to operate within those boundaries. Right. If they don't want to, it's okay. There would be times in my life where I would have just thrown people away if they couldn't, figure out how to love me in the way that I wanted to be loved, right? Yeah. But it's okay for a person to not have the capacity, at any given time to meet you where you are. And that part is okay. And I don't have to take it personally. We got to fall out. Maybe we can't be in relationship in the way that I would love for us to be in relationship right now. And that's okay. People have to be okay with being where they are and allowing other people to be where they are as well, without saying you're a terrible human being because you can't do what it is that I want you to do.
Yeah. I'm sitting here trying to process what you're saying about, like the first thing you said about, I forget the words, but like the personal part of it. I agree with you, KeKe. I think it is important to not take things personally. That is so much easier said than done, right? It actually requires a lot of practice to actually show up and get curious and not furious, as people say, and to understand somebody else's perspective and kind of pause and take yourself out of it. That takes a lot of work. And I hear what you're saying too, Scott, in terms of not discarding people, and some aspect of it is still a little personal. I just wonder if that's our problem. Do you know what I mean? And I think is there a world where everybody can be where they are, feel how they feel, advocate for what they need, express what they need, say what they need, and then we just coexist without attachment? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's definitely a practice, I guess, is what I'll say. One of the books that I really enjoy, and we've talked a little bit about, is The 4 Agreements, and that's actually one of the agreements in the book. I read that in January. That was my January read. Yes. Yeah. So like that's what they say. Don't take anything personal. And it's really freeing. It is like, it's something I aspire to. And I honestly don't know how to do that just yet, especially when it comes to like family and like friends you've had in your life for like, 20 plus years. So yeah, I'm kind of in between. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm all the way there. I'm all the way there though. I'm sorry, Scott. I'm all the way there. I didn't want to cut you off, but I just want to say that I am all the way there because I've always been the person to hold on to stuff that I should have not even worried about. It hurts me by holding it on. And I'm like, she said this in the 9th grade. You grown. Let that go. So when I read that book, it just gave me a new perspective. I guess because at the time of my life, I was looking for something. And I needed to read those words, process them, and implement them in my life. And once I started that implementation process, let me tell y'all what I did. And then I'm gonna let Scott speak because I want to hear from his specific. What I did was I stopped talking to everybody. It took about 5 days before everybody realized we ain't talked to KeKe. Where's she at? She ain't checked on us today. Because I was always saying, good morning. How y'all doing? Have a great and amazing day. Smile. It looks good on, building people up. And I was not receiving that. It's like, if I don't reach out, we don't talk.
Yeah.
So I stopped reaching out. I mean, and granted, it did take some longer than the 5 days, but my A1s, within those 5 days, they was worried about me. And I was like, maybe I'm gonna keep you around. Because life be life. And I mean, when I say my A1s, I have friends from like kindergarten, and we have never had a fight. We have never failed out. We've always been in each other's lives.
Yeah.
We know life happens. It's just that understanding of, I know you here, I'm there. We don't have to talk every day or see each other, but they show up like an army. We show up for each other. So when they realized that I was not doing the norm, they all flocked to me. And I was like, okay, God, these my people for real.
Yeah.
And so that's how I started that, not taking anything personally. And I didn't take it personally. I just felt like maybe they're going through something. I don't know it. They don't want to talk about it, because people are entitled to their privacy. We don't have to know everything about everybody in our lives. And so that's what started the journey of not taking things personally. Like, I look at it from a perspective of, I cannot take them not showing up for me personally when they probably trying to show up for themselves that day.
That's a word. That's a whole word.
All right, Scott, go ahead. I'm sorry.
To me, the difference is, taking it personally means that I'm taking some sort of offense based on your action, right? When I say that it's all personal, though, like being in depth of relationship with people, it is personal. It is an attachment. It is a choice, right? So it's always going to be personal. It's always going to be that I choose you, right? So if I choose you, then I choose all parts of you. The parts of you that, don't necessarily know how to navigate grief, that don't know what to say when my uncle passed away. So you just say, I'm one of those people who, like, people think because I, have these degrees and I have this experience that, I should know the perfect thing to say when somebody passes, or when somebody endures like tribulation of some sort. They want to immediately get on the phone with me and tell me about it and think I have the words. I'm just a person who really doesn't know the words to give when somebody has lost someone.
Right.
And I think that I've come to a place in my life where, if I have a personal relationship with you, I have the ability to be able to say, like, hey, I never really know what to say in these situations, but know that I'm here for you if you need me. That type of thing, rather than being a person that just doesn't call because I don't know what to say. There's a level of honest communication that you have when it's personal. When it's personal, I believe that I can just tell you the thing, right? I can tell you what it is that I don't really know how to navigate. And you know that I love you in the midst of it, but I don't know what to do right now.
Right.
You're my friend and I got you, right? Most of the disconnection in relationship, I believe, happens because of lack of communication.
Oh yeah.
Like, people don't know what to say, so they don't say anything, right? And then that's when people take it personal, right? I take it personally because she didn't even say nothing I was going through, and then I was there for her.
That's the story you're telling yourself, though.
And but that's the thing, when people don't communicate, I'm left with my thoughts.
Yes.
The worst place in the world for me to be is alone with my thoughts and believing this thing and having all the receipts of how I showed up for you.
Right.
And then here you go now over here. And that's just a difficult thing to navigate. And I think, Shate was alluding to, like, wouldn't it be great if we all just, it would be great. But most of us are on a journey, we are learning. And when I say that I choose you for friendship or I choose you for a relationship, I would hope that we can learn together. Yeah. Right. And if I don't get it right, then let's have a conversation. It'll be a difficult conversation, but let's have it and figure out how we can remain in relationship. Because when we have the conversation, even if we disagree, I'm disagreeing with you because I want to be in a relationship. If I don't talk to you, I'm through with your ass anyway.
Right. Yeah, that silence speaks loud and clear.
Right.
Yeah. I think what makes that all tricky is we are all people have learned or not learned how to deal with conflicts or deal with their own emotions in certain ways. So
Right.
how it was dealt with, handled in your family is different was handled in mine, and then handled in yours. And then when you're trying to be in relationships, especially, and I guess I'm primarily talking about adult relationships, because when you're kids, it's kind of like, you get on my nerves, whatever, we still cool, whatever. But adults, we've been talking a lot about this lately, like how to navigate healthy adult relationships is so, because life be life, and you're tired, and you have all these other responsibilities, and you're trying to like take care of your own self and your own sanity. And then it's like, how do I, girl. So, but just to the point of not taking things personally, and just like communication is not, is life is happening. You trying to like show up a certain way, and our communication styles have been different for like 40 plus years at this point. So getting to a place where we can, communicate the same way, advocate for what we need in the same way, or just be understood and understand each other is. And then you throw in the wrench, like some people in therapy, some people not really, and it's like, oh, you kind of changed, or it's just all of it.
A deal with somebody who don't believe in therapy at all.
My God.
Yeah. So I'm like,
God bless us, everyone.
Oh, like, but it brings it to the topic of working together to build a team. And that's in any type of relationship. And I have a 14-year-old son, and he's about to be 15 in December. So I am building this team between us. I want him to know that he has that safe space in me, that he can talk to me. I don't care if you think I'm going to be mad. Talk to me about it and let me decide if I'm going to be mad. I'm not going to come at you sideways unless you done something crazy, but I'm going to still do it in love, so you can feel, okay, my mama got my back, And then his sister, she tells him all the time, because I have a 26-year-old as well, but she says, if you don't feel like you could talk to mom about it, my door is right here. So, and he is one of those kids that he just talks. I hope that stays like that as he moves further into as a teenager and a young adult. I hope he stays like that. But he has always been that talker. He always want to know why this happened. Why is this happening? Why do people think like this? Or why, we're going to figure it out. We'll never know why people think the way that they think, because it's too much to try to figure it out. But building, working together to build a team. What do you guys think about that particular topic?
We tried not to come from the angle of like teaching people anything, but I will share what I feel like works for us in our unit. One of the things, or a couple of the things that I value so much, and what seems to work for us, is like it is an actual partnership. And I remember when we were dating, we actually talked about like what do you want out of a relationship, and what do you want out of a marriage? And so I remember saying specifically, like, I want a partnership. And this is just based on, relationships that I had seen growing up. I don't know that I had a ton of relationship models, but when I started actually paying attention, it was like, okay, important for me to have a voice in my relationship, to be a contributing partner. I don't want to be controlled. I don't want to be told what to do. And I don't want to do that to my partner either. So the fact that we both show up in the space, and what needs to get done gets done somehow. One or the other of us will get it. And the other thing is, I don't feel like if I were in a situation where I was being controlled or manipulated, I could not be there. And so the fact that I guess, what can I say about it? My grandmother says that one is a whole number. That means I am whole. He can't complete me. Right. And so I've got to be responsible for my own joy, my own happiness, my own peace, as does he. And then we together co-create this, life of joy and shared happiness and peace and things like that. And so far we've been able to really kind of live our lives in that way, and that we, if he needs a space, he got to do his thing. I'm not trying to control where he's going. Right. But there's like actual mutual respect, a thought partnership, a collaboration, like an earnest desire to do life together as individuals, not like, one person trying to figure out, Yeah,
I get it. I get it. He completes me. She completes me. No, you got problems. That's where stalker and fatal attraction and all. I told somebody the other day, and she laughed so hard at me. I said, I don't want nobody to love me to death. I just can't. It's just not healthy.
It's because stifling.
Yes, and it's like, if you lose that person, then what are you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
How can you bounce back from that? You won't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. Oh, what I want to hear, I want to hear what you have to say about that, Scott. About, what is your input or your take on working together to build a team?
Everything she said. Nah, I'm kidding. But that and more. I think again, we don't have, a blueprint for how to build a strong team for anyone. But I think what has worked for us in our partnership has been this idea that there is no real leader here. I am head of household, by all biblical standards, but I am not the final say in this household as it relates to desiring my wife's input and the final say so that she has here. I think that if we ever come to a stalemate, and there have been times when we've come to a stalemate and she's been able to say, okay, we're going to go with, what you said because you are the man of this home, ordained to be the man of and the head of this home, and we can go that way. I think for me, the biggest part, and I can say without a doubt that my wife is a leader here, just because of the person that she is, the way that she thinks about problems. She is just a problem solver. When I was kicking around and pilling around with the idea of starting a podcast, my wife had like taken my credit card, ordered a website, ordered some stuff off Amazon for us to start a podcast. And I was, I came in with all these bright ideas, and, I had like an Instagram page that was really for me to navigate, my feelings of what I was feeling as I was going through divorce, and, have a space for that to be a positive outlet. And I just mentioned to her that I was thinking about starting a podcast. And before I know it, my card was swiped. Things were arriving at the door. And she was like, we start next week. We have a production meeting. And I was like, who does a production meeting? Like, who are you? I'm trying to go.
Listen, the producer has spoken.
And so that is the type of partnership and leadership from a partner that I need, because I will kick around ideas just because of my own past trauma and things, my ideas that had been sitting with me for years before I met her by my own not enoughness. And then I had this woman who came into my life who was like, you're enough. We're doing it. Clear out Tuesday. Right?
In that order.
Right. And so, one of the biggest things there for me had not only been her leadership, and even you mentioned like creating a safe space for a team, but this has also been like a brave space. And so safe spaces are important where you can feel protected and you can feel covered. But a brave space is just like where I can tell you about your shit, tell you what you really need to be working on, and, give you some feedback, and it's not taken as malice.
Yes.
So even going back to not taking it personally, right? Because I know that this person is on my team. She means me well. So we're on the same team. Even when people are playing basketball, if they're going up for the rebound at the same time, somebody might holler team. I should let the other person that's going up to let them know I got it. We on the same team. You ain't got to fight me for this.
Right.
So to me, that brave space is her way of saying team. Right.
Yeah.
You need to know about this thing that may trip you up outside of this household or may keep this team from being successful. So if there's a safe space where I got you covered and you can tell me all your stuff, and there's not a brave space to go along with that, then you're kind of destined for failure anyway. So I really appreciate the duality of having like a brave space and a safe space at the same time. And that really makes a big difference for our relationship.
Come on, Scott. Look, everybody that's listening, do not try to take this brave space, safe space. It's theirs. It's theirs. I can borrow it, but it is the Love Haze Podcast. It's their stuff. So yeah, I love that. I love that because we need that. I've never thought about a brave space. You just gave me so much clarity about some things. So I'm gonna have to ask my husband when he come home, do I create a brave space for you? I don't think I do enough, because he's still, it's like we're like this instead of like this. So yeah, thank you for that. I love that. So the hard parts of life, we talked about, the overall theme for the Love Haze podcast is talking about the hardships that everybody encounter but feel like they're alone. let's talk about that a little bit. Like, to anybody that's listening, what can you guys tell them about you're not alone? Like, everybody goes through things. Give yourself grace and change the narrative, change your flow.
Ooh, where do we even start? I'll just name, things like divorce, like he mentioned, very tough trying fertility journey on our part, career transitions, like we said, adult relationships, healing from past traumas, like all of those things, like actively happening in life for most people on a day to day. And for a lot of things, we were going through life doing the best that we could. And I remember going through seasons in life and being like, why does it seem like I'm the only one that is going through something like this? Why does it seem like my friends just did the American dream right? Do you know what I mean? Like went to college, they got a job, they found their husband, they had their babies, they got the house, like in that order. And it just seemed effortless. And I just always feel like my struggles are so much harder. You know, that thing where like people around the top of the years, like trying to check God's strong people list and make sure they like, why am I always on it? You know what I mean? And it's just like, why are things so hard am I doing something wrong?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so both of us having these conversations, like, gosh, I wish my younger self knew this. I think part of it, now I'm reflecting on it from this place at 40 something. I think part of it is, we talk a lot about this. Our parents did the best that they could with who they were. And so we have these different variations of like emotional, I don't even want to say regulation, because I don't think that the emotions were regulated, but just like how we express our emotions and our feelings about therapy, right? So just kind of how we grew up, and then all of a sudden we get to a certain age and we're trying to unlearn things and we're trying to heal from things. And so I think that's part of it. Just kind of generationally, we've had the privilege to do better because we don't always have to be in survival mode.
Right.
And then the other part is just like, there's a lot of folks who experience things and just don't tell anybody. And that's okay. Like, to your earlier point, you don't have to tell your business. And I think if we shared a little bit more of our experience, it would unite us a little bit more.
Right.
You would know that, so as we started our fertility journey, I knew at least 2 or 3 people I could call and say, hey, I know you went through something similar, right? And through the course of it, found out there was actually, this person and this person and this person and this person, so, it just, if we could just normalize the hard parts of life, that's the aim. Just normalize like what you're going through. You're not the first one. You won't be the last one. You're good. You'll make it through. This is how we made it through. Maybe that'll work for you. Maybe it won't. Right. If not, talk to a therapist, talk to a pastor, talk to somebody, mentor, just that,
Yeah. One of the hardest things for me, was in having to navigate divorce was I just felt so alone. I felt like such a failure. Had been always like considered a great guy when I was in college. Always considered, someone who would be a great husband. Had done so much like celebrating, my wife on Facebook and, vacations and all those things, and always had like great words and all these things. And I was unhappy as hell at home, but all I knew about being a husband was like, celebrate your spouse, happy wife, happy life, do the best you can. Maybe I'm supposed to be miserable, as long as, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm protecting, I'm providing, and all the other bullshit that Steve Harvey says, loving, that's my frat brother, loving. But Negro been married too many times to be giving people advice on how things should go. That's neither here nor there. But what we're getting to is I learned almost right before I signed the papers on my divorce, that my parents had considered divorce multiple times. That I had multiple friends in my network who had separated and came back, were actively considering divorce. People who were like celebrating me, like, bro, I'm glad you got the courage to do it because I can't.
Right.
Those types of things. But these conversations weren't happening. So I was there alone feeling like a failure. And I was like, somebody needs to be having these conversations. I didn't want to be another person who like went through this, hid my story, and just emerged on the other side.
Right.
You know, with this new girl that I was dating, and nobody ever talked about it. You know, just gossips about it.
Yeah.
You know, the entire time, everything that was uncomfortable about it, I tried to share, but share in a non-toxic way.
Right.
Not, you know, shitting on my ex or any of those things. Just like, these are my feelings. I was a failure. And that's how I felt at the moment. Later found out that I wasn't a failure. Like, I was doing the best with the information that I had. You know, my dad had taught me, like, provide, protect, all of those things, that my happiness wasn't important.
Right.
And what I came to figure out was, like, if I don't learn how to navigate relationships now, some of this may have been the fault of my past trauma, but then I have to figure out the role that I play in my present trauma if I continue in this cycle.
Right.
Right. And so I had decided that my life wasn't going to look like that anymore. And so you have to tell people the way that you want to be loved. I've always said that I hope that I do a good job of giving Shate and my friends and other people who are in relationship with me the keys to success in relationship with me. When you don't give people that, you don't give them an opportunity to show up for you. And so much of my past trauma was self-imposed because I was scared of the rejection that came along with, if they had the chance to, then they may say no. Right. So I just tried to be everything to everybody, so people would just want me around.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm buying it. Yeah, I'm bringing the set out, I'm frying the fish. I'm doing everything. You got to worry about nothing, because that's the kind of guy I am. And that's some, you know, just thinking along the way, I just thought people would absorb by osmosis the way that I wanted to be treated and reciprocate that. But it's not really how human beings work.
No.
They say, he enjoys showing up that way, so I'm going to let him do that.
Yep.
Everybody else, I'll just come kick it. Scott got it.
Scott got it. Yep.
And then I'm over here resenting these people because I haven't given them the keys to success in relationship with me, being upset with them and just cycling people out of my life after I get so pissed off about being used. Right. But there was a role that I played in that present trauma, because I was scared to just say what I wanted, to say what I needed, and being in relationship. And there were so many of my people who were doing the same things. I was like, we got to have these conversations.
Yeah.
And if I don't do it, then I don't think I'm doing what I was called to do in building bridges and laying roadmaps for people. And when you give people a map, they don't have to follow it. You can map your own path, but just know that somebody else has come this way.
Right.
Oh, something different.
That was good.
Yeah, that was a bar. Like, yes, I love that. I mean, and at some point we have to realize that I have to teach people how to love me and not love them, you know, the way that I think that they need to be loved. Because if like Scott bringing fish, man, I like fish. I'm gonna let him bring his fish.
Coming through, right?
Coming through. Like, let me get a plate. But yeah, I totally agree with that, because in life, you know, people are just so afraid of exposing the hard parts. Because the image, they want to be portrayed as something that I don't want people to see me as this, although I'm dying inside and I need to have this conversation. I'm gonna sit back here and let somebody else talk about it. And even when the conversations come up in different spaces, you still don't say anything, because you looking like, can they see me? Oh, do my face show that it's me? So I had a couple of friends that we had a hard conversation. You expect me to show up for you, but you never show up for me, and I don't like that.
Congratulations to you.
I did. When I tell you this year has changed everything for me. Turning 40 was good, but turning 45, y'all listen. My mom and daddy, I laughed with them. They was like, "Oh, so you grown now?" "Oh, I'm 45 now. I'm grown." Yeah, we friends. Y'all hear me curse and everything. Like, so y'all don't get what I need to tell y'all. I'm gonna do it in love. If you have something to say to me, just do it in love. Watch how you say it. It's how you say stuff. Yeah, you know, that matters. And now we talk about everything. Some of my friends come around like, you talk about this kind of stuff with your parents? Yes, they my friends now. I'm grown. You know, back in the day, I probably would have been like, no, let me hold this. Let me sit on this and just be anxious, having that anxiety, not knowing the word for it at the time, because we didn't talk about the word anxiety. We didn't use the word therapy growing up. Mindset didn't come on the scene till about 10 years ago. Like I didn't hear those things growing up. What goes on in this house, stay in this house. You know, we didn't talk about mental health or mental illness either. We just know that we have a cousin that's a little thrown off. He's a little special. You know, don't go back there with him. You stay up here with me. Type deals. So I'm glad that you guys have a platform where you are changing the narrative. I use my platform to do the same. And I think that if we continue to have these spaces, that our narrative will become normalized of having these healthy, effective conversations. Because you can communicate all day long, but if it's not effective and people are able to comprehend what's being said, it's ridiculous. Or, you know, it doesn't change anything, I should say.
Yes. Amen.
This has been amazing. You guys have been listening to another episode of Kicking It with KeKe, life, love, and all that other shit. We have been talking about working together to build a team, working through those hardships that you think that you're the only one that dealing with, but you are not. Before we get out of here, tell the people how they can support the Love Haze. Where can they tune in, find you guys on social media, all the things. And I want to get into these t-shirts too. You know, I heard him say that his friend, okay, you saw Sarah, okay. I didn't plan, but you know, I have friends and family that did it. But I want to get into this shirt before we get out of here. But tell the people how they can support and tune in and all the things for the Love Haze.
Absolutely. We are on social media, most platforms. So Instagram, Facebook, and now Threads, apparently, at the Love Haze. And our website is the Love Haze, and that's HAZE, like life is hazing you. thelovehaze.co. And we invite y'all to, if you check out on our Instagram page, there's a link in the description that says we have a resource for, you know, tips on how to have hard conversations, and the same thing is on our website as well. But you can go ahead and get that guide, but more importantly, like once you get it, you'll be tapped into our community, and you'll get a weekly word email from us that includes like the conversations that we're having and the insights that we've taken from them, resources that we're getting, book recommendations. You heard, you know, KeKe, we mentioned the 4 agreements earlier, little bars, right? Which leads us into the shirt. Different, we have a podcast playlist, and every conversation we have, since we love music, we say feels like a certain song. And so we've been putting affirmative lyrics on different things and sharing those. So join us. You know, we love to take the journey with you.
Yes, I love it.
This particular shirt is a play on our girl, Big Glow, because I'm FREE, past trauma free.
I love it. I love it. I love that. Y'all selling those?
Yeah.
Listen, tell them it's available on the website, thelovehaze.co. So all the information will be in the description box, so you don't have an excuse not to go and support it. Any last words that you guys would like to leave the listeners with tonight?
I think we can leave y'all with the thing that we see on every single episode, which is, you know, life is gonna life. Life will always present you with a haze, but you have everything that you need within you to navigate through it.
Absolutely.
I love it.
We just believe that we're setting the stage and leaving a safe and a brave space so that we can all take the journey together. We ain't always gonna get it right, but we out here.
We out here, y'all. Life be life, but we out here. Look, we getting up every day just like everybody else that's blessed to see it, and we are grateful. You know, so keep being you, keep being intentional, keep being mindful, and keep showing up for yourself and the people that you love. They are there. Maybe that conversation needs to be had so everybody can just flow into space, right? Just have those conversations. It may not be as hard as you think. Somebody just may be waiting on the other person to start the conversation.
Yes.
Absolutely. But you guys, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for kicking it with me this evening. I'm in awe of y'all, like for real. I'm fans. I follow y'all on stuff. I'm gonna have to make sure that I go and, you know, check out the merch and all of the things. Like, I love it. I love it. But until next time, remember that the bumps in the road are there to slow us down enough to enjoy the journey. Make sure you enjoy the journey. Every day is a gift. So make sure you operate in that. You guys be blessed, love and light, peace and blessings.
Peace.